Hello, 7Es receiving students and teachers.
Hello, Mr.
Thank you. You may be seated. What did we look at in our last lesson? Evelyn.
Fibrous roots.
Fibrous roots. Good. We looked at fibrous roots. Fibrous roots are what type of roots? What type of roots are fibrous roots? Shannon. What type of roots are fibrous roots? What do you think? Receiving students, you may also tell your teacher.
Shallow roots. Shallow roots.
Shallow roots. Good. Fibrous roots are shallow roots. And fibrous roots belong to a group called the monocotyledons. Good. Monocotyledons or monocot. That was what we looked at in our previous lesson. And fibrous roots, the root structure of a fibrous root is that it has many roots of the same size and importance. So all those roots do the same type of job. And that is to, what's one of them? One function of the root, of fibrous root. What do the root do? What do the fibrous root do, or what does it do? Samuel.
Fibrous roots supports the plant to stand.
Once again, louder so your friends can hear.
The fibrous roots supports the plant to stand.
Okay, they support the plant to stand. Yes, they do support the plant to stand by anchoring the plant in the soil so that the plant does not fall over. It anchors it to the soil. That's one of the uses of the fibrous root as well as the taproot. Now, it also takes up nutrients and minerals from the soil into the plant itself. Okay, that was the one on fibrous root system. Receiving teachers, we still have the same strand. The substrand. Learning outcome, and still on unit 2. For today's topic, are you helpful or harmful? That is today's topic. Are you helpful or harmful? The materials needed for today are as follows. Pictures, we'll be looking at working with markers, molds or mushrooms, hand lenses, scrap papers, petri dish or any other flat surface object. Receiving students and class, I would like you to see this very carefully. Watch what is happening on the screen. Okay, what do you think is happening? Now watch. What do you think is happening? Receiving students, you may tell your teacher as well. Okay, what do you think happened? Joshua.
The apple is rotten.
The apple is rotten. Joshua thinks the apple is rotten. Okay, the apple is rotten. Good. Probably the apple is rotten. What we have on the picture is a picture of a peach. Somewhat a fruit like an apple. So very good. The apple is rotten. Receiving students, I hope you guessed it correctly as well. The apple is, of course, rotten. Now, what are other things that you can think of that can rot? Just like on the picture. On the picture, it was taken some hours, for a couple of hours, and eventually you can see the rotten peach, a fruit like an apple. Bagley.
The apple stays on the plate over a week or month and it starts to shrink.
Very good. The apple stays on a plate over a week and it starts to shrink or rot. Maybe in your houses. Just like the similar one on the one that you just saw on the screen. The peach shrinking as it is rotting. Okay, I have the next one for you. This time, I would like you to say what that is. Now, all eyes on the screen. What do you think this is? I hope you guess before the picture appears. Here we go. Agnes.
Mushroom.
Mushroom. Everyone agree it is a mushroom? Yes. Okay, receiving students, I hope you answered that correctly or guessed it before the model class. That is, of course, a picture of a mushroom. Today we will be looking at such things like mushrooms and fungi and, of course, bacteria. Now, first of all, fungi. What do you know about fungi or fungus? Okay, receiving students, while you are telling your teacher, we will hear from Kalen. What do you think about fungi? Or what are fungi?
Plants like organisms which do not contain chlorophyll. They obtain their food from dead or living organisms. Example, mushrooms.
Okay, they are plant-like organisms. Organisms are, of course, living things. They are plant-like organisms, but they do not contain chlorophyll, the green substance that is found in plants, and that helps the plants make their food. Very good. That is what a fungi is. We'll see some examples of fungus there. Hoof fungus. We have hoof fungus. Now, I have an example of a hoof fungus here. This is an example of what is on the screen. That's a hoof fungus. Now, this hoof fungus, when they grow on the trees, they probably grow in layers or tiers, meaning one after the other on the trees there. Now, the hoof fungus, they get their name from, maybe if you look at the top side of it, they look a bit like horses. Horse's foot or hoof. Okay, the foot of the horse. Maybe that is why it is called hoof fungus. So that is an example of a hoof fungus. This hoof fungus mainly grows on trees. As you can see, this little hoof fungus here this was pulled out from a bark of a tree. So you can see the bark there. And this little hoof fungus was pulled off from a bark of a tree. And all this, they get attached to the dead tree, mainly dead tree. Okay, so that's hoof fungus, an example of a fungi. Now the next one we have is nocturnium fungus. Nocturnium fungus, most nocturnium fungus grow in the night. So sometimes receiving students, if you probably came across nocturnium fungus, where in the night they sort of glow. Those fungus, they glow. And you can see maybe like one green light is coming out from them. Okay, so that's another example of a fungus that we can see. Now the next one, grown mainly on the grass area, call it a shaggy nightcap. Shaggy nightcap is one example of a fungus. And of course, there are many fungus. There are many fungus that we can see around us. Some of these fungus, most of them are not plants. They are plant-like, but they are living organisms which are plant-like, yet they do not contain chlorophyll. They do not have chlorophyll. Receiving students and class, hands up if you like eating fungus. Okay, some of us, we don't eat fungus. And remember, please do not touch any of those fungus. They are dangerous. Do not make an attempt to even pluck one out or try to see one. They are very dangerous. Right. Can you eat this? You can see on the side there, these are edible mushrooms. Mushroom is one sort of a fungi. And these mushrooms here, they can be eaten. They are arranged nicely. When you see them on the screen, maybe they're like scones and some noodles and octopus, but they are mushrooms, and some people eat them. On the other side, we have what is called a blue cheese. Blue cheese, that this coloring gives it blue because fungi is growing in there and it makes it blue, but it is good to eat. Which means that you do not try one. Whatever you do not touch mushrooms and do not try to eat them. Some of those things, we call them helpful fungi. Helpful fungi. What do helpful fungi do? What do they do? Receiving students? Okay. They fight sicknesses. There are some helpful fungi also. They fight sicknesses. On the screen you can see some medicine bottles there. One is of a penicillin, the other is of an insulin. And this medicine were all made from a fungi or fungi. They were made from fungi. And doctors use them to help fight sickness. So we have penicillin bottle there, the one with the darker brown container bottle. They also decompose dead things and recycle matter. If we did not have fungi around, then the whole well would probably choked up with all those dirty piling up. But once the rotten leaves go down there, it helps to decompose it and gives nutrients to the soil. Right on the screen there, you can see, if you look carefully on the stones there are green algae, some form of fungi growing there. And they are helping to decompose the soil and putting back nutrients into the soil. Now, the other thing, apart from fungi, is bacteria. Bacteria are also small organisms that live in us. All of us, we have bacteria in our bodies. And all these bacteria, you are carrying them around every day when you are walking around, playing, sleeping, coming to school. Whatever you do, the bacteria are still within your bodies. When the bacteria get into our bodies, they attack that tissue. Tissues are some parts inside our body. They attack the tissue. So you can see toxins attacking a tissue there. The toxins are one in the red. And the skin, probably it's attacking the skin. The picture that you can see on your screen is of the skin magnified plenty of times through the electronic microscope. And you can see that little bacteria trying to attack it. Bacteria, when they get into the skin, they get in as one, and then they start dividing in the skin. They go 2, and then those 2 go 4. So the bacteria divides when it is inside your skin. From 1, then the 1 divides to 2, and those 2 finally divides to 4 of them. Now, bacteria are not always bad. Bacteria are also helpful. Some helpful things that bacteria do is they help our crops grow. They also help digest our food. We do have helpful bacteria that live inside our gut or our intestine, and they help to digest your food. And helpful bacteria also break down rubbish. Some bacteria are actually used in the production of food, such as yogurt, cheese, and vinegar. Okay, those are some of the uses in which helpful bacteria do to us. Now, our activity, you turn to your activity books. Receiving students, if you do not have your activity books with you, you can copy this diagram quickly into your books. Okay, so we have a diagram here for you to copy down. First of all, you are going to discuss in your own words what fungi and bacteria is. What do you think fungi and bacteria are? In your own words. Okay, receiving students and class, we are going to hear what Tara will have to say on the first one, fungi. Sarah, what do you think a fungi is? Tara, what do you think a fungi is? Tell your friends.
Plant-like organisms that doesn't contain chlorophyll.
Okay, it is an organism that doesn't contain a chlorophyll. Now we'll hear what Jubilee will have to say about bacteria. Right, Francis is going to help Jubilee, and Francis will tell us what a bacteria is. receiving students, I hope you are telling your teacher what a bacteria is.
Bacteria contains disease in plants and animals.
Thank you. That is simple. Bacteria contains disease in plants and animals. Good. Now the next one you are going to complete, next instruction, you complete the table which is on the board. Receiving students, the one that you already copied down, you may copy down those table and you complete it. Where you have organisms and you have fungi and bacteria, and you give an example of a fungi and also give an example of a bacteria. Give an example of a fungi and also give an example of a bacteria. In the next table, you write down whether they are harmful or how are they harmful and how are they useful. Class and receiving students, if you cannot name a fungi, probably you can draw in the section there. Draw a fungi. If you cannot draw a fungus, then you have to, if you cannot name it, then you can also draw a fungus. Okay, class and receiving students, you can also write down the names. If you are given examples of bacteria, then you can put down the names of bacteria that causes the sickness or against the sickness that a particular bacteria causes. Okay, receiving students and class, we will have some students come up and write down, fill in the table. Elsie is going to write down an example of a fungi. She will write down an example of a bacteria, sorry. And Kalen is going to write down an example of a fungi. We'll also fill in the tables on how they are harmful and how they are useful. Right, fungi. Ringworm. We have ringworm there. Ringworm grows on the bodies of the people. They are harmful because they what? What do they cause on your skin? They cause grille. You have ringworms or grille in Tokpisin. Ringworms on your skin. And then you start scratching all over. Okay, and they are useful because they fight sickness through penicillin. Bacteria, TB bacteria, how are they harmful? How are they harmful? The main thing is they make us sick. Makes us sick. And what is one of the usefulness of a bacteria? One usefulness. Agnes. Good, it helps grow crops. That's one of the uses of the bacteria. Now, activity number 2, you are going to be looking at the experiments. You will be using the same potato. Receiving students, we are going to be using the potatoes that we cut out from our last experiment. By now they have already rotted, so this is what the model class will be using. Now with your hand lens, you try to observe what you can see on the potato. You can also use a cone, a rotting cone. Okay, so this example of these are 2 cones here. One is already rotting and it's yellowish, while one is a bit orange. Right, after you place those moldy or mold mushroom or on a petri dish, then you use the hand lens and observe them carefully. whilst observing them, you will answer the questions given. Do the mushrooms have chlorophyll? Or how do the mushrooms make their food? Is number 2. Right, observe them with your hand lens. Do not touch the fungi.
Fungus come under, mushrooms come under fungus, and fungus do not contain chlorophyll.
Okay, very good. That's for question A. They do not contain chlorophyll because fungus come under, mushrooms come under chlorophyll. And how do mushrooms make their food? How do mushrooms make their How do mushrooms make their food? We will have, right, receiving students and class, we will have Emmanuel to answer question B. How do mushrooms make their food?
Get nutrients from other living organisms.
Very good. They get their nutrients from other living organisms. They are like parasites. Very good. Thank you. And from dead plants and animals. Good. Our summary, we have only one summary point there, and that is fungi and bacteria can both be useful as well as harmful. The key phrase for today, what do you think our key phrase is? Donald.
Use of fungus.
Use of fungus. Right, that's what Donald thinks. Let's see our key phrase. Fungi and bacteria. The next lesson, in our next lesson, we will see the topic will be on who's making that food, photosynthesis 1. Materials for the next lesson, pictures of how plants make their food, blank papers, and markers. With that, thank you very much, 7Es, receiving students, and have a nice day.